needless to say, 2021 was a banner year for real estate in Albuquerque and New Mexico and the entire country.
A banner year for sure.
And, kind of the good, the bad, and maybe the excellent, a few different, things. If we look at it that way, I don't think there was any ugly. The only ugly that I saw in real estate, at least in the real estate media that I follow, are the crash people, the housing crash people that are just trying to get clicks on YouTube and trying to get everybody to believe that everything's going to fall apart. And that's the only ugly, if you say the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I think I would say there's some ugly too, but it's not just 2021, but the affordability, the first-time home buyers and ability to get an offer accepted when there's maybe a down payment assistance program, a loan that's a little bit harder for a buyer to get accepted.
I was going to call that one the bad.
Oh, I jumped ahead. There's the bad.
And I agree with you. I think that is probably the unhealthiest piece of the real estate market right now. Based on there's a lot of different numbers that come at us, and just depending on how we look at it. But if we look at annualized appreciation in the Albuquerque area, I'm seeing numbers anywhere from 10% to 18% over the last 12 months. Right, that is not sustainable. We all know that. The good news, and this is really part of the good part, is, people don't buy. They basically pay what they can afford in the debt, right? They look at, okay, what's the monthly payment? They don't necessarily look at the top line price. I mean, we all do, but it's about, how much debt can they afford?
Right.
And the fact that we had, 3% interest rates for the most of 2021, we'll get to interest rates in a moment here. People that have bought or refinanced in 2021, that's the good, right?
It's very good.
They've locked in their cost of housing for, let's say, the next 30 years, right? If it's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And that cost is not going to go up. That's locked in. I mean, obviously, the cost to maintain your home and all that stuff, obviously, those things will go up.
Taxes can change.
Taxes
your
will go up.
Your homeowner's insurance can change.
Yeah, all that stuff goes up. But you've locked in your biggest expense for the next 30 years versus, and I just want to put it, I know you want to say something, but just to understand, I mean, pay rates are going up, right? It's going up slowly, but actual wages are increasing. So wages are going to continue to increase, but yet you're locked in on your housing costs for the next 30 years. That's my point.
Right. Think about all the other things besides housing that have gone up in the past year that are going to continue to go up. But for people who own a home right now, they own it at what they bought it at, right? They may want to refinance at some point if they haven't, right? If you haven't gone from a 6 or 7 or 5% rate or even a 4.5% rate and refinanced, you should still be thinking about that, lock in that lower rate. But it's crazy to think of your housing cost is now pretty fixed except for taxes and insurance for up to 30 years. Whereas, I mean, lots of other things have gone up. The minimum wage in Albuquerque in New Mexico went up on the 1st of January.
Yep.
Significantly. Very significantly.
Yep.
Locking in the rate is good. So the story I wanted to tell about this sort of, we talk about our kids every once in a while. So our son, who's been living in Arizona for since 18, basically. He's 24, going to be 25.
Yeah, since starting college, yeah.
Since he went there for college, but he's been working for 3+ years now, and he bought a house last year, actually.
End of 2020. 2020. It was in 2020, yeah.
He was out during the worst of COVID when we didn't really understand it and know it, looking at houses, and his realtor in Arizona is our brother-in-law, and it was not fun to go look at houses. But now he's going, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I bought a house, that I have a low interest rate. At the time, it seemed he didn't get the best rate. It was like 3.35 or something.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, because it dropped right after, down to under 3. But now he's sitting on in high in appreciation, a really nice home with appreciation. And one of the things that we've told buyers for years, Tego, and it sounds self-serving, is buy as much house as you can afford. Don't underbuy, because your wages continue to go up over time. In the next 30 years, you're not still going to be making what you're making today. Typically,
you would hope.
Yeah. I mean, most people, it's worked out well. So
Absolutely.
When I see people who say, well, I can afford to buy a $500,000 house, but I only want to buy a $250,000, I feel like, they're kind of missing out, because they're probably going to want to buy another house down the road that better meets their needs. And buying the house and getting the low rate and locking it in right now, being in the neighborhood you want and getting the house you want that's going to serve you for a long time, was a very good thing for our son. We thought he was crazy, right? Because we looked at the price he was buying.
Which is interesting, because, what you're saying right now is a belief you've had for a long time. And I think part of it was just, parents being nervous, and we see that with parents helping out their kids buying the first house and stuff like that. You want to be, we don't want our kids to overextend themselves, right? We want them to, make good financial decisions. And we know that, from our own experience in our early 20s, we didn't always make good, financial decisions.
You might not have, but I did.
Okay.
So
right.
Don't lump me in there.
Okay.
But, we're looking at our son, who's now been a homeowner for a year and a half or just over. Mm-hmm. And, he's got 20% appreciation from the market in the home that they own right now. So
the thing that's interesting is, we could say, okay, well, if he bought that home at a different time, he wouldn't have had that type of gain. Obviously, it's been an extraordinary gain over the last, year and a half, 2 years. And the part of it is, though, is still understanding you're just locking in your housing cost. And that brings me to one of the stories that really jumped out at me this week in the real estate world is rental prices up 18.7% in Albuquerque over the last year. So that is real cost to live in basically for your housing for people that are renting. And we talk about, okay, well, homes in Albuquerque have gone up anywhere from 10 to 15%, 20%, whatever it is. Rents have basically outpaced it well. The difference is people that are in their house, their costs did not go up. But people that are renting, there's a chance that their rent can go up every single year.
Right.